Mercedes' performance in Barcelona exceeded everyone's expectations, considering the fact that the team promised a lot for the past couple of years, but now is seemingly very close to understanding what the car needs in order to fight for race wins on a regular basis. After the close fight in Canada, the Brackley-based squad managed to get to the second podium in a row, but with a different driver, and Hamilton's statements from Barcelona were pure joy for his fans. But is this enough to proclaim Mercedes as a contender? And more importantly, are they really close to fighting with the top three on every circuit in 2024 after the latest upgrade development? It goes without saying that Mercedes has surprised many by surpassing Ferrari on pure pace in Barcelona and being very close to McLaren, actually beating Piastri with both of their cars, as Hamilton managed to get the first podium of the season. With this race finish, the 7-time world champion managed to destroy a record of 198 podium finishes in his career, extending his own record of a number of consecutive seasons on the podium to staggering 18, and just showing what a masterclass of a driver he can be. It was quite a missed message among the fans to hear "Get in there, Lewis" from his race engineer Bono, and even though it's for P3 but it used to be for race wins, it simply states that the 7-time world champion is now feeling a lot more comfortable with the car than in the first stage of 2024. This trend will continue to rise, and even though he's losing the qualifying duel compared to his teammate Russell 8-2, the points difference in the Drivers' Championship is very narrow between the two Brits, as the younger one has only 11 points more and is sitting at P7 with 81 points behind his name. When talking about the Barcelona Grand Prix, Hamilton went on to say, "It's been a good day, a good weekend. I have to say a big thank you to the team because they've been working so hard on the pit stops with the strategy, and the pit stops were really on point. Unfortunately, like Lando, I got a bad start and obviously lost ground to the Ferraris, so it was a bit of a battle to get back to where I finished with a better start. I don't know if we could have held on to the guys ahead, but I don't think we could have been as far behind as we were." This goes to show that confidence in Lewis is back, and even though many have put a lot of doubt as to whether or not he has it in himself to deliver the good results in terms of motivation and how the team has slowly but surely shifted their focus towards Russell, that won't be the case for the remainder of the 2024 season. Mercedes were the team that grabbed the biggest amounts of points in Barcelona right after Red Bull, and with 27 points in their bag, they do have a lot to look ahead to in the next few races in Austria and Silverstone, because the upgrades will continue coming on the W15 until the car is turned into a consistent race-winning one. While many have labelled this as an evident issue due to the fact that the budget cap exists, Wolff said himself that some of the upgrades that they brought to the car are not so visible ones and are a simple change of parts or tweaks of the setup. That was the case in Barcelona, where Mercedes was expected to bring a large package that involved a new floor but ended up with small parts that were more than enough to make them the third fastest team in race pace, around 2.5 seconds behind the leader Red Bull and close to 2/10 to McLaren, who were the second fastest with Norris. It also helped a lot that Russell had this amazing launch in turn 1, but nonetheless, once the pieces of the puzzle started to fall in, it was evident that Mercedes were going to compete for podium finishes and were likely the most consistent team in Barcelona. 2023 went on to show a trend that is usually not that present here for Mercedes. They finished P2 and P3, and they still failed to keep up the momentum for the remainder of the season. While everybody is now hopeful that this won't happen for 2024 too, Allison's comments are something that are putting a lot of hope towards the opposite scenario. Mercedes competing for race wins sooner rather than later, as the team is now very close to finding a perfect operating window for their car. As Red Bull stated, it was obvious that a scenario like this would happen soon, because we are currently in the 3rd year of the regulations, and it would be kind of bizarre to not see the rest of the grid closing up on the Austrian squad. But what is worth mentioning is the fact that by being limited in the number of upgrades and innovations they can bring to the car, the teams are effectively fighting for tenths, sometimes even microseconds in terms of performance. Therefore, if you're to say that Mercedes is bringing an upgrade to their semi-home race in Silverstone that's worth 1 to 2 tenths per second, it would effectively mean they'll be fighting for a pole position and a race win, whereas a couple of years ago it would have been laughed at as a statement. Nevertheless, the podium finish from Hamilton comes at a sensitive time for Mercedes when the team was accused of sabotaging the 7-time world champion, and is putting the emphasis on Russell, which stirred up a lot of drama and a fierce response from Toto Wolff in this regard. Nevertheless, the first weekend after this allegation has been made aware of in the media, Hamilton qualified and finished P3, and he's happier than ever in the 2024 campaign, aggravating some fierce responses from his teammate Russell, who was on another strategy in Barcelona, one that resulted in him losing the position to Hamilton in the closing stages of the race. When talking about the tyre strategy, one that went in the pattern of soft, medium, soft, Hamilton added, "The tyre strategy that I drove was on the plan from the beginning. It was never an option to run the hard tyre for me. I drove the race on soft, medium, soft, and all the overtakes were super close. But that's how it should be, right? It was fair. I left space for Sainz and it was right on the limit. It was a piece of paper between us." But Barcelona is now in the past, and the reality for Mercedes is that they can be consistent podium challengers. However, even if they end up with the fastest car in 2024 somehow in this close development war, which is a far-fetched scenario, it's worth mentioning that beating the Verstappen factor is definitely not going to be possible anytime soon. Nonetheless, that won't prevent Hamilton from winning a couple of races in his last 14 venues with the Silver Arrows. And a huge help will be provided by James Allison, who is now more than aware of where the team went wrong with the car, and said, "The moment that we discovered where we went wrong was more of a 'oh god, how could we have been so dumb' type of moment, where you see the path forward and you should have seen it sooner. The thing that has bedeviled us since the start of the year was that you could get the car okay in a slow corner, and you could get it quite decent in a fast corner, but you couldn't get it good in both at the same time. What has changed in the last 2 or 3 races is that we've modified the car in such a way that it actually has a reasonable high to low speed balance and a reasonable through corner balance." But nonetheless, even if the team is close to winning races, rest assured that the ultimate team game won't be played by either one of the drivers, as they'll be looking forward to grabbing a win on their own. Something that Mercedes knew from day one by signing Russell as Hamilton's teammate, despite them being way off the competitive path that we're used to seeing. And the last race in Barcelona just goes to show that there is never a time in which you can say that Mercedes are not going to be competitive. The regulations are closing, and despite the fact that Hamilton departed the team and won't be part of the new regulations from 2026 onwards, it doesn't mean that we won't see the Silver Arrows ahead with a young core of Russell and potentially Antonelli. The latest reports on the vacant seat that Hamilton has left behind him says that Antonelli is not as secured of a pick as it is believed in the media, as Wolff is trying to negotiate an interesting contract for the young Italian superstar, where he would have some time to build character and experience in Williams and share the same path that Russell shared. Nonetheless, it would be hard to find a driver who will race for 1 year or 2 now that they're teams that are offering way more stability on the drivers' market, as 2026 is a gamble for everyone, and we don't know what we should expect from every team out there. With all of this in mind, do you think that Hamilton's latest performance in Barcelona goes to show that Mercedes are back in the game after 2 good races? And more importantly, do you think that he will be the leader of the comeback process? Let us know in the comments below, and once you do that, make sure to click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now.